you said is like a son to you. So I'm excited about this guest.
Yes, Christian Calabro.
All right.
Um,
So our guest is Christian Calabro. He's a veteran financial advisor based in Palm Beach, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He is the owner and founder of Innovative Financial Concepts, a multi-million-dollar practice, and thrives in an incredibly competitive environment. Today, we'll hear how he built his business and why he continues to grow beyond that. Christian, thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure being on with you,
All right,
gentlemen.
I'm excited anytime, that's why I love working with Michael. Anytime I get to learn from people of success, I just put it right in the back of my brain because I believe in my heart that if you put your mind to something, you figure out the system, you take the bumps and bruises, you're going to be successful in life. But you have to take those bumps and bruises. So, Christian, what brought you into the world of financial advisory as a teenager?
Great question. It's not, I always tell people, it's not something that I aspired to be growing up. It was more of a decision by choice, not by, or decision by fire, not by choice. Growing up, very humble beginnings. And when I was in high school, I was trying to look for a career past high school. I was always doing very well in high school and I had an opportunity to go to college, but I needed to be able to find myself making money, good money, to be able to get myself and my family in a better financial situation. And it was just a communication with someone who I used to work in a pizzeria with when I was in my junior year of high school and on Facebook, believe it or not. And he was like, "What's going on?" I said, "Nothing much, just trying to find a job." At the time, I had just quit my job at McDonald's. And I was trying to find something that was going to give me a good future. And he said, "Oh, why don't you come work with me?" And I didn't even ask him what he did. I asked him two questions. I said, "Are you making money?" He said, "Yes." And I said, "Is it legal?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "All right, sign me up." And essentially, that's
this
how I got
reminds
into,
me of a
into the
scene
business.
out of The Wolf of Wall Street. Remember
Yeah.
when the guy's like, "I just got to ask you a couple of things." He's eating in a restaurant. So
That was me. Yeah, I was Jonah Hill in that
yes,
case. I didn't care what it was.
Yeah.
as long as it was legal.
I just wanted an opportunity. That was it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So
Right.
many would say that you came into the industry destined to fail and with several different disadvantages. Are you comfortable sharing some?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned before, coming from humble beginnings, I didn't have a personal market, right? And that's the first thing that everyone in the financial industry tells you to do when you first come in is create your Project 100 or whatever it is that they call it. If you're getting married tomorrow, who would you invite to your wedding? And reach out to those people and tell them what you do and try to generate business from there. Well, at 18 years old, and coming from where I did, you could imagine that I didn't really have much of a personal market to work with. So that all in its own was a very big struggle and a very big hill that I needed to climb over to in order to make it into this business. But also just in general, people just looking at me because of my age itself. I remember calling my uncle, who at the time was the most successful person in my network, and I didn't even get through halfway through my pitch, and he just started laughing at me. And I was so upset, right? This is my first week in the business. I'm already getting my teeth kicked in with cold calling business owners. And then here is my uncle, my godfather, actually, just laughing at me and just basically saying that I'm a joke. And you've had other people in the industry that when they knew how old I was, like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't think you're going to be able to make it. You're too young. You don't have a market. You know, you're a street kid." All the things that you don't want to hear as someone coming into the business as to why you're going to fail. And it was humbling, but I'm the type of person that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it just because you told me that I couldn't.
I'm like that, and I'm sure Michael, you're like that as well, right?
Absolutely. That's why when I met him at 18, the person who hired him, we both, is a mentor to both of us, Christian and I. And he said, Michael, on paper, there doesn't look like there's a whole lot here, but this kid's got something burning inside. He will not fail. This is just
Mm.
the way he is. He's somebody worth our time. So whatever you can, share with him what you can because he's worth it. They believed in him. They saw something in him from the beginning. And here, remember, this is, one of the boroughs of New York City where he started, Staten Island, New York. full of financial professionals. This is not exactly, green, right? Everybody is a financial advisor out there, or they have a guy. Not to be
Right.
funny, but right. And Christian,
Everyone has a
talking
guy.
about his youthfulness, he looks young now. Go back another 12 years. He looked
Mm.
even way younger, and that's where he's coming from. It was difficult for him, but I remember I'm like, Christian, you don't look young on the phone. So
And that was
that's,
the key.
you know,
That
and
was
Christian was
absolutely the key.
unstoppable.
He
That's
sounds
the
like
thing
the wolf
about it.
again, picking up that phone and calling people, or the guy that was hired, no doubt, man. Go ahead.
It
You were going to
was
say,
it was definitely that's what helped me tremendously, coming in because I knew my appearance would automatically be a detractor for most people. So all right, I just need to get polished over the phone. And I was getting
yeah.
my teeth kicked in nonstop. I mean, getting gatekeeper, coming in the mornings at 8 a.m., leaving at 8 p.m., people having to knock on the door telling me I could go eat or I should go eat. These are all the things that I had to kind of deal with. And just like anything in business, any business, the first couple of years are always going to be the toughest because you're really trying to find what works for you. And what works for you might not work for the next person. So it was very difficult in the first few years for sure.
You didn't just survive. At some point, you cracked the code. When did that happen? And when we hear and crack the code, that's like, okay, we want to hear this.
Yeah, crack the code. I still feel like I'm cracking the code, right? It's
That's the
it's
best
funny
answer
because
you could have possibly shared. No
yeah,
joke, because we're always
yeah,
trying to figure it out.
always. There's always room for improvement, right? You reach the mountaintop, and I've always been taught that never set your goals too low because if
Mm.
you accomplish them, then what? Right? You think about astronauts that go to space, they come back down. Now what? What tops that? So for
Do you
me,
remember that acronym that Victor would share, BHAG?
yep,
You remember
yep.
that one? Big, hairy, audacious goal.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me, it's always that. So cracking the code is something that it's like the Da Vinci Code. It'll never be cracked, but I'm always trying to figure it out every step of the way. And what I'll say is what's helped me get to where I'm at right now are many different things. But one is the man on the phone with us right now, or on the Zoom with us, Michael Aguas. I was told the first 2 years that, again, amongst all those other things that I said, I was too young to speak with accountants. And I believed it, right? Because as an 18, 19-year-old kid being told that you can't do something and being told by people that have been in the business for 20 plus years, you kind of have to believe it. So I didn't do it. And then I remember I was like, my big thing was getting a little bit from everybody and sitting down with people that are actually doing it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do exactly what they do, but you got to take pieces from everybody. And I'm a true believer in that. I might borrow a lot of things, right? And I always give credit where credit's due. But I remember sitting down with Michael, and I remember I started the conversation about wanting to work with accountants, and I said, but I'm too young, or I don't have enough experience in the business. And he stopped me. He goes, "How many years do we have in the business?" And I thought when he said we, I just thought he meant, just speaking third party, right? And I said, 2 years. He goes, "No, you're not hearing me. How many years do we have in the business?" And I said, "Michael, I'm not really quite sure what you're saying." And he goes, "We have over 27 years in the business. When you go into sitting down with a client or you're going down to sit with a center of influence, you're going as a team, and your team has the total experience. It's not just you." And that was one of the biggest things that in early on in the business I learned is that it's not just about you. It's not about how, it's about who, right? Who do
Right.
you know that is where you want to be? Who do you know that has the skill sets that you need in order to speak and work with these particular people? So for me, cracking the code was always about working with other people who are smarter than me, being around other people that are smarter than me, because proximity is always power, right? And being able to learn from people has been something that is something 14 and a half years into the business now. I'm still doing it. I'm still learning because that is part of cracking the code and being a better person and being a better advisor.
And we
But
can't
for
ever
me,
stop learning.
it's never stop learning. That is the key. That's the code, if you may, is never stop learning, always keep growing.
So there was a very strong event in your life. So Christian specializes in a lot of insurance solutions. Early in his career, through family, he experienced something that made him an absolute believer in this, and that was a big part of his, his conviction. Could you share a little bit about what happened there with your stepmother?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of talk about why I'm still in the business. Quite frankly, this event was is what showed me why we do what we do. I came in this business, as I mentioned before, as a means to an end, a way to make money. Never really looked at it as to what the actual purpose or what we do for people. And again, when you first come in, you reach out to friends and family. My stepmother was nice enough to help me out early on in the business. She was a postal worker working for United States Postal Service down in Florida. I was able to get her triple the amount of coverage for her term policy that's than she had on the job for the same price. So for both of us, it was kind of a no-brainer, right? She was helping me out, I was helping her out. This is a 46-year-old woman from the jungle of Colombia, extremely fiery as you could imagine, but extremely healthy. She got the best possible health rating in the insurance world, and that was not to anyone's surprise, right? This woman was very very fit. Um, and 6 months later, I remember 3 months in, I stopped making money, right? I thought that the cash was gonna keep on coming in, and then I hit a big case, and I was like, oh wow, this is great again. And then another couple months, but in that couple months after, I get a phone call at 11 p.m. at night from my dad. And for anyone who gets phone call doesn't normally get phone calls from their family after 10 p.m., we all know that those calls are never a good thing. And it's just my dad crying on the phone, and he's like, Adriana had died. Adriana's dead, and that's my stepmother. And I
Mm.
was like, sometimes when you hear something that you don't believe, you're like, stop. Like, what are you talking about, right? And he was serious. He was serious. She passed away. She was not feeling well. She was on a treadmill, planked. On her two sides was my father and her youngest daughter, who was 17 years old, not even 18 yet. She was a senior in high school, just about to graduate, about to go to prom, about to turn 18. And she collapsed, went into cardiac arrest, and that was it. That was it. And
Wow.
it all became real very, very quickly, right? Because it's not only the death of a loved one, a sudden death of a loved one, a sudden death of a loved one who was extremely healthy, right? But then the realization kicked in is, oh, wait, she has life insurance policies with me. And they always say in our industry that you never truly understand the power of what we do until you deliver a death claim. Well, you never truly understand the power of what you do until you deliver a death claim to your loved ones and
Mm.
see what they're doing with the money. It's one thing to deliver the check. It's another thing to deliver the check and then watch it all unravel and how what they do with that money. She had three daughters, my three stepsisters, Catalina, Chana, and Tanya. And the oldest one, we had just found out she became pregnant. Unfortunately, she never even got to tell her mother. Um, she was able to buy a home with that money and be able to really set herself a nice little nest egg and get her on her feet. The middle one ended up paying her way through college, right, and invested the money very well. Very intelligent woman. She would have did well without the money, but just to see what she was able to do and create that for her was really something special. And then the youngest one, I mean, again, just about to turn 18, set herself up for her future as well. And not to say that that money changed things for them, because there's no amount of money that they would give up to have her back. It definitely opened my eyes, though. It opened my eyes to realize, wow, here is someone who took out this policy because she was doing me a favor, and then to turn around and see exactly what it does for people. It made us realize, one of our mentors always said, our job is to protect the innocent. And the innocent is not just women and children. It's people who do not know better. Do you know how many people have coverage on the job that they're unaware of, that they could get something better outside, or these situations. Everyone's always saying that I'm good, I'm good. I got a guy, I got a girl, right? I'm fine. Are you though? Are you really fine? And I think those people are innocent. They always say ignorance is bliss, and you know that that's somewhat true. But if you're intentionally choosing to just deny things, that's not bliss. That's a choice,
Yeah.
right? So our job, and it became very real to me why we do what we do, and it gave me an extra purpose to now being again almost 15 years in the business, still holding that true as to the reasons, and my reasons have expanded over time, but it was a very big lesson very early on, and something that I hold very close to me.
Mm. That's a powerful story. You have to have those stories to motivate you every day to go and do what you do in so many ways. So,
Amen.
Christian, so what have been the keys to your professional success? What are you doing so well that others never learned? And I'll have another question for you from that, a follow up.
Sure. Um, my biggest thing is kind of what we touched on before, is just always be a student. Always be a student to the game. I think that's one of the biggest keys. A lot of people, when they come into this business, they taste a little bit of success and they think that it's going to be everlasting. They think that, if you make a certain amount of money that it's going to last forever, or that, they're above learning. I think that, I was humbled by many different things early on in the business, of certain things that we were doing that no longer were available. And it forced me to expand my practice and to learn even more than what I was already accustomed
If
to.
you remember back then, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There was this one word. I remember consciously bringing it up and devoting ourselves to it
hmm
because we were really doing well with one strategy. It went off the table for different reasons. Long story short, we focus on this one word, pivot.
Yep. Absolutely.
And Christian learned then, as I'm sure he's applied since, we need to be nimble, that nothing stays the same, and we need
Never.
to be ready for change, and if possible, ahead of it.
Amen. Amen.
I,
Adaptability is the most
oh
important quality I think you could
gosh.
have.
And always looking to improve, and that
Yes.
learning experience, that learning curve and marketing. I see it all the time with my tutoring businesses. I'm getting ready to get that rolling again with some potential NIL implications. I'm already thinking that way. I always try to stay ahead of the curve,
Mhm.
improve, and when I feel things aren't going well, after I've tried everything, I'm going to change things, but not till I try it, till I know if it works or it doesn't work. And a lot of times, Christian, people jump away from something by not giving it a real try.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's like that
I got to
that
say
meme.
something because you talk about another strength that I'm sure Christian knows about in himself, but I've seen it and I've witnessed it for years. He is steadfast. He gets his mind onto something. He is like a pit bull chewing on meat. He's not going to let go. He is not, and like he said from earlier in this broadcast, people were discouraging him, leave the industry. This is not for you. You're too young. You got nothing going for you. It's too competitive. He had an inner belief and he was not quitting. He was
Oh,
not. And he's
even my
still that way
father.
now.
Even my father told me, and my dad, God bless his soul, he's one of my best friends. He's still doing well, thank God. He never understood it. He never understood the business. To go months sometimes without getting paid, or weeks without getting paid. So, maybe just, go get a job, go get a W-2. And it's like, no, no, this is just how it is. I'm just one sale away. I'm one decision away from changing everything. And I just got to keep going. It's like that meme of you see the miner that's chipping away, trying to get to that diamond wall, and they quit right before they have the breakthrough.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
never wanted to quit. Always
And,
wanted to keep
and you
going.
see, you got to put that like on paper as a quote from this podcast. Because first of all, that's the problem. You start to build the groundwork, you start to grade, and then you go and sway somewhere else. Didn't want to give
Yep.
it the time. A lot of my clients come in saying, I want results, immediate results now. I said, no, it's 9 to 12 months. And then you
Yep.
better still be building your personal brand through that time. That's for people,
Absolutely.
Christian, that I work with. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I want you to have that personal brand too. So then when the well is dry, when it's dry, guess what happens? People call you out of the woodwork. Why? Because you're constantly creating. And then
Correct.
and they just reach out to you. You can't measure those things, but you also can't measure putting a system in place and finally waiting. And then you're right, it's one big deal. I think we're all away from that one big deal, Christian, and
I
it's
agree.
coming. And we
I
have to
agree.
just know it's going to come. Michael, what are your thoughts on that? That one big deal.
Just and you have to believe. You can't. We're all, the three of us are business owners, and there are many people who are business owners listening to us through this podcast, and they know, we know, you cannot give up on your dream. If you feel that strongly about it, see it all the way through, because
Absolutely.
you're probably right. You know, the same thing about negative feelings. It's like, listen, if I can't go there, that's not my thing. Don't let other people talk you into it, because your instincts are telling you otherwise.
Yeah, walk away. And that
Mm.
Yeah.
they have to listen to that inner voice at times as well,
Yes.
Christian. So here's the follow-up question if we've not answered it already in this conversation. I can't wait to have you on this other podcast that's going to be more on the whole million dollar minutes side, but let me find it. Okay, here it is. So the question basically is what specialties have you developed and why did you choose them? Because this is the thing, specializing is important. And this is the mistake. People think it's the niches and the riches. Yes, they are, but to a
Mm.
certain point. When you grow to a certain point, you have to expand. You stay in one specialty, master that specialty, and then branch off into others, especially when you built a network. But I'm interested, and I like the word specialties, Michael. A lot of people only specialize in one thing. It's got to leave in this day and age with the measurement where AI is and how everything is so fast moving. We need to have specialties.
Mm. Yeah, I completely agree. And a lot of it kind of started again, as I mentioned with the meeting with Michael, is working with accountants. My specialty is working with accounting professionals and sharing different ideas that they might not know about, or they know about, but they don't know enough about to actually bridge the gap to make the introduction to the client, right? Um, when I first came in, I was always trying to figure out, all right, how do you separate yourself? And as time went on, I think one of my specialties is actually relationship building. Business is about building relationships. It's not about being a walking encyclopedia. It's about being able to be a real person, to be organic and authentic, and know that you're going to take care of people just as you would want them to take care of you, right? So for me, a lot of what we specialize in, and again, is tax planning. Michael and I work with very, very similar things together, but we just specialize in working with accounting professionals, sharing different ideas and concepts, building the relationships with them as a person, first and foremost, not as a dollar amount or a piece of meat, right? And treat them as such. And once you're able to build that relationship, you'll find that it's much easier. The business is much easier than what you think it is. I remember I always asked Michael, I said, why are you doing all of these talks for people and giving them all your secrets? And Michael said to me something so profound. He goes, Christian, I'm not worried about I'll tell everyone exactly what I do step by step. The question is, how many of those people are actually going to go out and do it? And very few really do. And if they do, they don't necessarily execute the same way. Not to say that you're better than anyone else, it's just we're different. So I think the specialties just really rely on just building relationships and making people feel like people, not like a check.
Christian put the power of numbers to work in his favor. Over time, he just continued to reach out to CPAs, tax professionals, enrolled agents with the same message over and over. You know, we specialize in different sections of the tax code that could potentially help some of your clients. We'd like to discuss that with you. Would you be open to a conversation? Right? Very simple. And, you know, I think, Christian, maybe you can share on this as well. Most people don't believe that oftentimes accountants are intimidated by us, but advisors are scared of accountants because, you know, they know so much, and they do. They're great professionals, but they don't feel that they have much to offer. What have you learned that's wrong? That why and what would you say is wrong with that thinking?
Yeah, you're spot on. I think, even sitting down with just a client, advisors are always more scared than they should be to present something to somebody. We're all people at the end of the day, right? We all bleed the same blood. You shouldn't be nervous to speak to, not saying that you should or shouldn't be nervous, right? I know some people are more socially awkward than others. I was as well. Believe me, I was innately an introvert. I forced myself to be where I'm at right now. It was not something that I was innately given. But I think that, you'll find when you sit down with accountants, I remember one of my CPAs, because, you're always trying to generate more business. And this was early on. And he had told me something so profound that never left me. He goes, Christian, what's the biggest difference between a financial advisor and an accountant? And I'm like, I threw out a couple different things. He says, no. He goes, that's not it. I'm like, all right, educate me, please. He goes, financial advisors are always taught to learn something new. They're always taught to try to educate you on something that's new, to try to separate themselves. They're always trying to spark a conversation. Accountants, we're taught to stay in our box. We're taught to do what we need to do and don't do anything more because it creates more work for you. And when you open up Pandora's box, you can't put it back in. And when he said that to me, it was such an epiphany. I'm like, wow, we're over here as advisors trying to go and push our products and our services and oh, look at this shiny object over here, or look at these graphs and this is how we're going to be doing with your client. They don't care. They do not care. They want to know one thing. Are you going to take care of my clients? And secondarily, are you going to make me look bad? Right? Because these people spend years building social equity with them. Accountants are the trusted advisors. For better or worse, a business owner and an individual is going to go to their accountant when they need to make a financial decision rather than going to their financial advisor. It sounds counterproductive, right? You think you would go to your financial advisor when you're making a financial decision, but that just is what it is. And some of these accountants are very, very well educated. Others, maybe not so much. They don't know about that side. But the whole important purpose here is that just treat them like a person. Treat them like a person, develop a relationship with them, and then in concert, you have social equity, right? Because they're making an introduction to you. They already have the trust of the client, and because they trust you, the accountant trusts you, now the client in turn also trusts you. So that is the most important thing is don't go in with these cute concepts or products or trying to do too much to impress the accountant. Just show them you're a person and show them that they're people as well and treat them as such. And when you develop a relationship like that, good things are going to happen. Oh,
Wow.
Neil, you're on mute.
Thank you. This is an interesting question that everyone says, what still drives you? What would you say still drives you? Because that's the thing that people look at. You could just stay with the success you're at. What still drives you?
It's a great question, and honestly, it's something that I ask myself on a daily basis. It's not something that I've always figured out, but I think that that's what also is part of what drives me, right? Is finding that higher purpose. I was listening to a podcast the other day with Tony Robbins and this guy Alex, and he was talking about how you push versus pull, right? When you're pushing, you're going out and you're just doing the things that you need to do and want to do because you need to generate business, right? It's the hunger in you. The push is the hunger, but the pull is the purpose, right? And I always have the push because I always want to be my best version of me. I still need to take care of everyone. I want to leave a lasting legacy behind. I want to make sure that people who are in the situations that I was in growing up don't have that type of experience or that hard road that I did. I want to be able to create that blueprint for them. And there's a lot of things that I want to do in the world, right? I'm very passionate about a lot of different areas. And that's what still pulls me because I know that a lot of the things that I want to do, it requires capital in order to be there. I could very easily right now sit back on my rest of my laurels and just say, I'm good, but I'm 32 years old. I still have a lot of my career ahead of me, God willing. And for me, it's just knowing that I haven't even scratched the surface yet. I'm just now entering
I really
what's
believe that
possible.
about you. I really believe that you're going to create an organization, not just a practice, but you'll find your own way and your organization, will find its purpose. But I really see you as that person.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Wow. This is and see that's the drive. And you were talking about Alex Ramosi for our listening audience and viewing audience. Alex is one of my favorite guys. Can't wait to meet him someday. I get so much emphasis listening to him motivates me, and then the great Tony Robbins. But having those two people in that conversation, that's where we have to look at, do we have a purpose we wake up every day? You can be making a lot of money, yet you don't feel like you're truly making a difference, or you truly feel like it's fun for you. It's something you cannot wait to do every day.
Hmm.
And if you have that blessing that you do find that, you're set, because there's never going to be a day of work in your life. You're not going to get dreading like, oh, I got to go answer this email at 3 a.m. someday, or I have to go do this right now, because guess what? You wouldn't want to do anything else. And we're only a few of us are blessed like that, Christian. This question is just me throwing as a follow up listening to you. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I 100% agree to that. If you don't wake up with a desire to continue to keep going, um, you're just flowing through the motions, and you're never going to feel congruent with yourself, no matter how much money you make. You're never going to be happy.
You guys both mentioned one of my favorites, Tony Robbins. And what he said, I remember years ago when I went through one of his training, he said, my Mondays are better than some people's Christmases, right? He probably still says that today, but that's how I
Mhm.
feel. Today is Monday. I was looking forward to today, and I was just on vacation. It wasn't like, yeah, I got to get back to work. No, it's like, I got to get back. I miss it.
Right. It's for me when I realized last year I did a lot of traveling, and I'm grateful and blessed to be able to do that. But I found myself coming back and was like, why do I feel I'm so far behind the eight ball? And it was even a borderline depression, to be honest. And I feel like there's so much I need to do. And like in those moments of all that stuff on top of my shoulders, there's though like, oh, let me just pack it in. And then I started to realize where it actually came from. And what it came from is that I really love what I do. I love being productive. I love helping people. I
Right.
love engaging in conversation. And when I go too long without that, I get into that false sense of relaxation. I'm not relaxed. I'm actually more tensed up when I'm coming back because I needed to release it, and I try to come up with another outlet. So it's truly true that you need to find what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. I know it sounds cliche, but it's so
It's so
true.
true. Yes. Okay. Let's look into the future. And Michael kind of pointed that question a little bit. Paint a picture of how you see your business then.
Yeah, the future. I mean, we're expanding, right? We I've always said that I never want to be a manager, right? And I know Michael's going to laugh a bit because we've talked about this in the past. I I enjoy giving back to people. I love helping people out, but I don't want to be a micromanager. It's not my style and never
Mhm.
will be. I'm self-sufficient, right? I run off my own engine. I
Right.
don't need someone to tell me, hey, listen, Christian, you're behind on things. Go ahead and step up.
Exactly.
No one provides more pressure on me than me. And I want people like that. And when you're a manager, it is a lot of coddling. Let's call it what it is, right? You have to develop people, you have to recruit people. I don't want to do that. I want a producer group of killers, people that are just going to go out and do their own thing. They know what they need to do, they know what they want to do, and they just go and do it.
Right.
So, my future, what I'm building right now, is that giant producer group of everyone having their own specialties. So, where when a client comes to me, and Neil, I know you mentioned this a little bit before, uh, just because you specialize in something doesn't mean that you shouldn't know about other things. And for me, I always want to, I hate the terminology one stop shop, but I want a client to be able to come to us and say, hey, I have this need. And for me to say, listen, I know enough to have a conversation and be dangerous, but I am no means a specialist in this area. Let me bring on Michael. Let me bring on Neil. And they're the specialists in this particular
Yep.
field. And I promise you, you're going to be taken care of. And we're going to work together as a team, not just as a discombobulated group where it's like, all right, go see that person, go see that person. And there's some selfish reasons to do that, right? It leads to better retention, better referrals. But it's also just a better way to do business. When you do things for people that have nothing to do with you and you're just making the referrals, it makes you feel good. And the law of attraction definitely comes back around. And karma is very, very real.
Mm.
I don't do it because I expect something in return, but I do it because I know I do enough of good things in life. It'll come back around at some point. It's not dollar for dollar. It's not time for time. It's not directly from the person you're giving it to, but I know that you continue to do that and it'll work. So we're just continuing to build the business and eventually, God willing, in the next 30 years or so, be able to sell it and still do what I'm doing, but on a more selective basis.
Very interesting. That's an interesting point. Michael, what are your thoughts when you talk about having a lot of one-stop shop? I love that phase because, but if you put the right team together, it's a beautiful thing.
And that is the key, right? You might not have a big team, but the team you have has to be tight and they have to complement your skill sets, right? I'm surrounded by people who are teaching me things all the time, my son being one of them.
Hmm.
Right. I don't have a lot of his skills and his background, his training, his education. He doesn't have mine. We complement each other. And these are the people we work with. But Christian also touched on something. There's a similar spirit that you want to have on your team. In his case, he mentioned a team of killers. I'm very similar, right? I'm very similar. I want people who have to help their clients. They're driven by that. That is their purpose. And you've heard very passionately these last few minutes from this young man who definitely has and works with a purpose.
All right. So our last question is, what would you share with aspiring advisors so that they too can be successful?
That's a great question. Everyone's different, but I'll say something generally speaking. Number one, do not expect instant gratification. This is not the business for instant gratification. But over and above that, finding a mentor, multiple mentors in the business, extremely important. Sit down with people who are going where you, or that are where you want to go. That is extremely imperative. Not only getting mentors, but also getting a coach, which are two different things. A mentor is going to tell you about how to get to where they are. A coach is going to take you where you are and develop that roadmap to get you from point A to point B. My life dramatically changed when I worked with my mentors, but it absolutely exponentially grew once I started to dive into the personal development space. The more you work on yourself, the better your business will do. A lot of people, they work on the
That's
business, but
powerful
not
stuff.
themselves.
Yes.
So make
100%.
sure that you get into that. I know that the whole world is a big coaching space. Everyone's a coach now, but
Yeah.
finding the right person who can identify where you're at, where you want to be, and give you the right tools, the right fishing poles to go and fish with is extremely imperative.
100%. And the great thing, Christian, is if people want to contact you, there's going to be a page on the rainstormmediagroup.com website. And then they could contact Christian through that form if you've listened to the podcast or watched the TV show or went ahead and messaged Michael or myself. We will get you in contact with Christian. But who is the person right now that needs you most? That you think should contact you today, just to kind of listening to our audience right now, who would that be?
The people that need me the most are the people that think that they're exhausting all their options when it comes to tax planning and just trying to figure out how do I save more? What are the creative ways to doing it? What are the ways that I can be able to put money away and not have to focus more on selfish benefits, right? They put the business owners put their blood, sweat, and tears into their business. They want to be able to reap the rewards of it. And these closely held businesses that three business owners or less, those are the people that I could really help.
Okay. That was the special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show on the Rainstorm Radio Show, guys. Take care.